What's up, YouTube? Today we're gonna be reviewing Boruto Tubu Vortex Chapter 25. So, without further ado, we can get right into my favorite manga of the modern era. Also, in the
Original
background, I'll be
Boruto
working
Chi
on.
is going to be breaking all that down and so much more.
No, in the background, I'll be working on my manga Hikari and taking shots and smoking. So, have fun, everybody.
Boruto is trapped in the shadows of his own village, isolated in Konoha, the village that he once swore to protect, forced to watch his sister struggle with Kurama's overwhelming power, unable to step forward as the hero that he wants to be. But just when it feels like hope is slipping away, a confession from Sarda ignites a storm of emotions, not just for her, but for Sumire as well, setting the stage for a love triangle that could reshape the future of Konoha. And as Moegi is finally unsealed, another revelation threatens to change everything, because Boruto, desperate to protect his friends and family, turns to the one entity that he should have never trusted ever. In a moment of despair, he makes an unthinkable offer to Momoshiki. He can take full control of his body if he kills Jura. The question is, has Boruto just made a deal that will unleash the very demon that once wished to destroy the world? And can Momoshiki even be trusted? Well, in this Boruto Tubu Vortex Chapter 25 review, your OBC, your original Boruto Chi, is going to be breaking all that down and so much more. We open up the chapter inside of Konoha with Konohamaru placing the Thorn Soul bulb that belonged to Matsuri against the portion of the tree that covers Moegi's heart, and after the Thorn Soul makes the connection, it quickly causes the tree to explode and Moegi falls into the arms of Konohamaru. But very quickly, we get our first hints that something is wrong, that unsealing a person isn't a surefire way to confirm that they'll be okay. On top of being unconscious, Konohamaru has to ask Moegi if she remembers him, and once she regains consciousness, Ikimoto does a good job of closing in on Konohamaru's eyes before he has him squeeze Moegi tightly, something that Konohamaru likely thought he'd never be able to do again, and it's because there was a risk that Moegi would be gone forever. However, as Himawari gushes over the sight of Konohamaru, clearly holding back tears as he hugs her, Boruto watches the whole scene from afar, high in the sky, and it's at this moment your heart has to break for Boruto a little bit, due to being charged with the crime of killing his father Naruto and his mother Hinata. Boruto is a rogue ninja in the very village that doesn't even remember him as Naruto's son, that doesn't remember him as the boy who so many, including Kakashi, compared to Minato, who had hopes of him becoming the second coming of the fourth Hokage, and had helped save the village from Momoshiki, save the son of the feudal lord from Shojoji, and they watched this same boy teleport Ishiki out of Konoha before he could do any more damage to the village when he was fighting Naruto. He's being forced to hide high in the sky, masking his chakra to avoid detection, because he's still public enemy number one. The feudal lord's order to have him killed is still in effect until stated otherwise, and he can't join his sister Himawari in the relief that comes from watching Moegi, someone they've known ever since they were born, be released back into the world of the living. At the tender age of 15, Boruto is carrying a burden that would make grown men buckle, but because he is the rightful son of Naruto, he has no choice but to endure. And as the inheritor of Sasuke's Will of Fire, he has to protect the village from the shadows, even if they all hate him, and even at the expense of the very bonds that he cherishes and wants to reestablish so desperately. Meanwhile, in the land of Wind, deep in the hidden sand village, Kankuro gives Shikamaru a status update on Gaara's condition. Shinki has been unsealed, but Gaara is in a coma right now, unable to breathe on his own, needing a ventilator while the medics tend to him around the clock. It's in this moment as you see Gaara hooked up on breathing tubes. Despite knowing that it's not life-threatening, it's another reminder that even though this war against Jura is still in the early stages, the victory that Konoha has gotten on this mission hasn't been without any cost. Yodo is dead. Moegi is clearly weakened, and Gaara, he's in a coma right now. Both new gen and old generation characters have been put in harm's way, and this war against Jura, it isn't even climaxed yet. This leads us to Shikamaru being told by Sai that he's being summoned by a meeting, one that we don't see take place in the chapter, but given the way that the optics look for him, how he handled Boruto's imprisonment, and now Boruto showing up in the Land of Wind, and Shikamaru having information that he shouldn't have that comes from an undisclosed source, it's safe to assume that both the elders and the feudal lord, they have questions to ask the 8th Hokage, and very slowly, the walls are closing in on one of Boruto's most important allies, which, unlike the past battles that Shikamaru used his 200 IQ for, this is a political battle. One wrong answer could change everything for him as he makes his leave from the Hokage office. Elsewhere, inside the Konoha hospital, Sarada enters the room to see Moegi being tended to by Sakura, who reveals the price that comes from having been sealed inside the tree for a short period of time. That she was. Her chakra flow, it is dangerously weak, and it's because the tree she was inside of was draining her power, draining her chakra, which we know is because the chakra is being sent to the awakened Shinju, and the fact that for a short period of time in the tree left Moegi this low on chakra, it makes you wonder about the fates of Bug, who was sealed away in a tree during some unknown time period ago, and most importantly, Sasuke, who's been stuck inside of a tree for a whole 2 years. And just looking at how close to absolute zero he might be, which in Naruto, absolute zero is death, it makes our boy Sasuke in a very dangerous situation, and it makes clear he's never escaping those out of chakra allegations now. As Sakura breaks down Moegi's condition and Moegi makes the prolonged eye contact with Konohamaru, Sarada catches the eye of Sumire and she asks her, hey, can we speak in private? Which leads to the two in an undisclosed area inside the village that appears to be where they first met Boruto in chapter 5 of Two Blue Vortex. Naturally, as you would expect, after their last time being in the same room with each other, where Sumire crashed out and unintentionally gaslighted Sarada, things are a bit awkward between the two, and Sumire tries to make small talk by congratulating her on the tough mission in the Sand Village, but in this moment, Sarada shows that she's every bit Sasuke's daughter, because just as Sasuke's blunt and to the point, so is Sarada. She calls Sumire by her first name, which should be the first time she's ever done so in the manga, and it's a reminder that part of the reason for the blow up in chapter 16 was that Sumire got pissed off, not just about Sarada's clear feelings for Boruto, but also for Sarada continuing to call her by the title class rep instead of Sumire, which for a quick lesson in Japanese culture, calling Sumire by class rep isn't just a nickname. It can and it was interpreted by Sumire as an impersonal address by Sarada instead of a more casual and intimate address, which is how close friends will refer to each other. Using someone's first name without the honorific, it is a sign of trust and a signal of how close you are, versus saying class rep shows an unintended distance, which for Sumire, it really hurts given that she and Sarada have been the only ones they've had to confide in each other for the last 3 years inside the village, fighting side by side to prove Boruto's innocence and survive the trauma that came from being immune to omnipotence. They are way past the formality stage at this point. This is why Sarada was trying to make things right, and as she apologizes, Ada's watching the entire situation unfold with her Senrigan, watching the scene closely, and as she watches Sarada admit the truth to Sumire, Sumire was right to question if Sarada was in love with Boruto and being insensitive to her feelings. And Sarada explains how she got to that point, where she's just jumping into Boruto's arms without thinking twice about it. It's because there were feelings there all along. She just hadn't realized it yet. Back when Sumire asked Sarada and
Hold on. Chat. I live for this, bro. Like, romance and romance stories, that's what I live for. Like, so this romance plot and the love triangle between Sumire, Boruto, and Sarada, absolute cinema, bro. Like, this is amazing, bro. This is what I'm here for. But let's keep going.
Part 1 if she was bothered by other girls liking Boruto, Sarada brushed it off, but she was so driven by her goal of being Hokage that she never allowed herself to think about those feelings or even romance in general, which as she says this, Ada is 100% invested in this gossip and probably thinking to herself she knew all along, because when we go back to Boruto Part 1, Ada directly asked Sarada about her romantic feelings when she, Sumire, and Sarada were all in the bed together having that girl pillow talk. But Sarada never got to directly answer the question because Sumire stepped in. Sarada reveals that over time, she found herself thinking about Boruto a lot, which now makes that moment in chapter 69 hit harder because Mitsuki flat out asked Sarada about her feelings regarding Boruto, meaning that Sarada was quite literally the last person to realize that she was in love with Boruto, and she hadn't addressed those feelings. And we learn it wasn't a simple crush, as in girl sees cute boy and girl goes, I like cute boy. It was through Boruto's actions that she began to develop feelings for him. The way he carried the burdens alone, despite those burdens being so heavy, and the ones that he had to face alone, like the fate of being Momoshiki's vessel and the risk of losing his soul. At first, she wondered if it was simply because she was his teammate that made her worry about him and think about him. But then she began to ask, was it because she was a friend? And as she asked herself the questions, the answers to those questions, they just led to more questions. Because Sarada subconsciously began to realize what she was feeling wasn't concern for a teammate. It was something more, and it scared Sarada. It made her question if thinking about Boruto so much, being as concerned for his well-being as much as she was, did something like that mean she couldn't be Hokage since her mind was distracted from her goal? Sarada's self-focused drive on one singular goal to the point that it was all she could think about is something that is relatable, and it makes her human. We all have our goals and our dreams. I can't speak for you, but I know for me, I have a couple of huge goals that I am locked in on, that I found myself understanding where Sarada's coming from. Energy on romance is energy that could be put into chasing a dream, because a partner requires a lot of energy, but you learn, just as Yodo taught Sarada, it's okay to chase both a dream and a goal, and also make room for those who are in your life that care for you. You can do both. Yodo's words made Sarada realize that subconsciously, she was not only burying her feelings, but underestimating her strength to endure the weight that comes from chasing the Hokage dream and caring for something, in this case for someone other than her Hokage dream. That's where Sarada drops the nuke that officially starts the pairing wars. She reveals she's in love with Boruto, and upon hearing this, Ada covers her mouth, likely in shock at this reveal, and Sarada continues to explain herself, this time revealing that she wants to be Boruto's strength, basically be his sword or his shield, and that those feelings, that love is what makes her stronger and makes her certain now that she can become Hokage. Now, this is where we do need to address something very quickly due to the confusion and the anger discourse that has popped up around this conversation. It's the same problem that popped up when Sarada unlocked her Mangekyo Sharingan in chapter 80 of Boruto Part 1. A lot of fans, due to Naruto having been over as a manga for 11 years, and the anime for 8 years, a lot of fans, they operate off of nostalgia, YouTube short, TikTok clips, Instagram reels, and video games. Hence, they have a incorrect outrage saying that Sarada's Mangekyo was a plot hole because she didn't see anyone die. And the same thing is happening now with this. Sarada claiming that she got stronger because of her feelings of love. It isn't a plot hole, and Ikimoto isn't taking a dump on the Naruto lore like people are saying. Instead, he's once again writing the story in a subtle way to offer a basic reminder of essential lore from Naruto, which makes sense that Naruto's assistant, Ikimoto, the first assistant hired for Naruto, would have a grasp on the Naruto lore. When a shinobi has something or someone that is precious to them, that is the moment where they can begin to draw out their full power. The moments that many will call mental amps in a lot of cases. In the 72 volumes of Naruto, as well as in multiple of the 4 data books and in both of the Naruto fan books, This is either directly stated or it is alluded to. For instance, how Minato in the one shot, Minato was able to, despite getting a hole in his chest by Seven Tails Kushina, he was able to summon the strength to cancel out a Bijudama from the full Nine Tails. He canceled that Bijudama with his Rasengan because he had just previously declared his love for Kushina and stated that he would be the one who was always inside of her. So for Sarada as Uchiha, a clan that not only feels love stronger than others, as well as hate. This is important because Uchiha's strength is directly linked to their yin chakra, which is made up of spiritual energy, and the stronger the emotions of love or hate, the stronger their chakra is stated to grow. And it's not just for the purposes of their Sharingan gaining Tomo or awakening a Mangekyo. The concept is basically the stronger the base, the stronger the power-up is that comes into play, and Sarada's pretty damn strong without any type of mental amp. Sarada embracing this now gives her a clear head and ironically has her walking two paths that might be intertwined. On one road, she's walking the path to become the 9th Hokage, and on the other path, she's walking the road that leads her to the wedding altar to marry Boruto, a boy who wants to become the Shadow Hokage to her Hokage. Could that also be a husband and wife thing? That remains to be seen, but just as her Hokage goals won't be achieved without any resistance, the same is true for her quest for Boruto's heart, with Sumire revealing that she knew all along that Sarada was in love with Boruto, that it was obvious to anyone who could see, and that she won't give up in her fight to be the one who claims Boruto's heart. That line is very easy to pass over, but it does two things. First, it highlights Sumire's keen perception, something that Sumire's character does not get enough credit for, but it also shows that even though she hasn't thrown a single punch in the manga, she has the heart of a fighter as well. Only this is a battlefield of love, and in this moment, her acceptance of Sarada's feelings without putting her own on the shelf reveals that Sumire's greatest strength is her empathy and her strength of character, in spite of her unintentional gaslighting that came from a rare moment of human weakness. If we're being honest here, Boruto's a very lucky guy in that regard. Two young women are vying for his heart, both brilliant. Both would be viewed as attractive by boys in his generation, and both have a strong moral character, fitting for a boy who has had to stand alone in the darkness against threats that no child should ever have to worry about. If he is the mighty sword that cuts down the demons that are haunting his village, then each of them, they are sturdy enough, Sarada and Sumire, to be the sheath where his long blade returns to after a combat in order to rest. Either girl could serve to complete him. Now, one final thing that has to be cleared up here is that Sarada's confession does not mean that she abandoned her Hokage dream or put it on the back burner like some people are claiming. She quite literally says the opposite in the chapter, but instead what Ikimoto did here was place her in a situation where her character was fleshed out and written in a human way to use the confession to further her character development and slowly intertwining her goals. She loves Boruto, but she also loves her Hokage dream. Those goals are intertwined. However, not to be left out, Ada jumps in and she demands to the sensory unit that they connect her to the conversation. And what I love about this is that it's just a continued expression of how Ada's character in Japanese is written, which that does not fully translate well over into English. On one hand, the English translation does correctly portray her as a girl in part 1 and now a woman in Two Blue Vortex who just wanted female companionship. Hence, she sought out Sarada and Sumire, but what doesn't translate well into English is the lettering she has in Japanese. It is very purposeful, and it further shows her personality off. She talks with a lot of lettering that is associated with uptown girls in Japan that are on the high end. So think of a very classy Minato War girl who uses a lot of bratty girl tones and the slang. She mixes a lot of teenage and adult expressions, but it's done with a level of sass to her. Think of her sass as being on the same level as Boruto's sarcasm. And in part 1 of Boruto, she speaks with a lot of doublespeak. She has a quirk, especially when it comes to her getting worked up about love. Like when Naruto and Shikamaru show up during the code battle, when she says that the battlefield is a mess, it is doublespeak for her romantic state of affairs being a mess and not just the battlefield. So she's getting upset here. It's her being upset that she's the outsider, constantly looking in at others using the Senrigan, not being a part of their conversation. And the two girls that she's watching that are talking about romance, having the very same talk that she wanted to have with them in part one, and she's not included, it's driving her crazy. And that's why she's reaching out to the sensory unit. That is why she's written in Japanese with a very quirky way of contacting the sensory unit. Meanwhile, back in the Uzumaki clan residence, Himawari, she's in deep meditation and she is training with Kurama inside the Biju Sanctuary, and this moment quickly reveals that she's got a long way to go because Kurama is quite literally slapping her around using his tails. And what's more is that we get another Dragon Ball Easter egg here from Ikimoto, who again is a big Dragon Ball fan. Is a throwback to Krillin training Gohan on the spaceship using the same method when they were on the spaceship traveling to planet Namek. Kurama quickly lets his frustration be known with Himawari. She isn't progressing in the way that he believes that she should be. She's still trying to fight like a shinobi, using her raw strength, and he is telling her to use her chakra to the point that it goes beyond what shinobi do, which, as a reminder, chakra is used for more than just ninjutsu. Chakra can be used to amp your stats. Tsunade and Sakura, they use it for their strength. The Raikage and Sasuke, when they use those chakra cloaks like Sasuke did against Kenshiki, that's used to amp your speed. Kakashi literally uses it for stamina when he was in possession of the Sharingan. Rock Lee and Might Guy, they use it for their strong fist fighting style, which literally tries to break the bones of their enemies. When Himawari says that she already knows how to use chakra because she's a ninja, Kurama again tells her that she knows nothing, like she's Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. He tells her the same thing that he told her when he first met her, and that Jura said when they were battling. And he stated that the power that she's using is beyond that of a Jinchuriki and closer to a tailed beast itself. She's not a shinobi anymore. She's less human and Jinchuriki and closer to what Kurama and Jura are, which that confuses Himawari, and Kurama tries to reframe it to her by saying what he's teaching her are the basics and she needs to forget about trying to fight like a shinobi, but instead think of herself as literal chakra, which is another nod to what Jura alluded to, saying she's more than a Jinchuriki and she's closer to a tailed beast like him. Kurama tells her, think of herself as chakra, focus in on that, and then everything else will make sense. But when Himawari still does not get it, Kurama cuts their training short and he refuses to answer Himawari after he kicks her out the Biju Sanctuary and she returns to the Uzumaki household, where unbeknownst to her, Boruto has been watching her the entire time while she sits in her father's office and she is doing the mental training, with Boruto sitting on a nearby building looking at her through the window. And it's just, once again, another sad reminder of Boruto's situation being a reflection of what Momoshiki meant in part 1. Those who are immune to omnipotence, which that includes Boruto, they will suffer the most. He's so close to his sister, yet so far away. So close to the home he grew up at, yet he can't walk into that empty home to care for his sister. Which brings me to another point, and I'll keep this one brief since I've already discussed why Himawari isn't living at the Hyuga compound in my video titled Why Himawari is Living Alone Explained, but I'll address it in 2 quick sentences. In Japanese culture, it's not uncommon for young kids to learn to cook and care for themselves or care for loved ones or be prepared to live on their own, because they might end up attending a school in another city depending on how they score on the entrance exam, and they'll likely have to live in that apartment alone. That's why nobody bats an eye at Himawari living alone in Boruto, and she believes in her heart that if she keeps the Uzumaki household up, that her parents will return home one day. Now, as sad as that is, things that get even sadder. Boruto enters Momoshiki's sanctuary, which that surprises Momoshiki since it's the first time they've spoken in 2 years. Momoshiki tells Boruto that he's in despair, while Boruto gets to roam around the world free and states that he should have let Boruto stay dead when Kawaki killed him, because his reincarnation is no longer possible and the only thing that can set him free now is Boruto's death. This is because his last ditch effort, it failed 3 years ago, and in the time since then it's failed too. Boruto's mental state of mind, it was too resilient to allow Momoshiki to hijack Boruto in Boruto chapter 80, and Boruto, each time the coma seal caught on, despite Boruto saying Momoshiki could hijack him, Boruto's managed with every fiber of his being to keep Momoshiki from hijacking him despite Momoshiki's continued efforts. Basically, if Boruto doesn't mentally break or willingly give Momoshiki his body, then Momoshiki is stuck in that dimension, which has black background, which reminds me of how Ichigo in Bleach would have an inner dimension that would change backgrounds based on the emotions. Makes you wonder if Ikimoto took inspiration from there, or if this is more likely than not like what Minato did, where he changed the scenery in Naruto's Biju Sanctuary and Naruto Volume 47. Boruto just cuts right to the chase, asking Momoshiki to give him his power, and when Momoshiki basically tells him, hey, go F off, Boruto says a deal works two ways and he's prepared to give something. In exchange for Momoshiki killing Jura, Boruto will surrender his body to Momoshiki to take control, and the way that Momoshiki gives him the side eye shows that the boogeyman inside of Boruto is already scheming about the chaos he can cause depending on what the conditions are laid out. Likely with Boruto demanding Momoshiki doesn't harm the people he cares for, and if he does, Boruto might have a Sasuke versus Orochimaru moment from early part 2, where Sasuke managed to kill Orochimaru. This chapter then transitions over to a happier note. Sarada and Sumire, they're walking through the village, stating that Boruto has no idea about the fact that they're in love with him, and the irony is that as they have this lighthearted conversation about the boy they love, the same boy stuck in a dark place, staring at the demon inside of him who has been the cause of all the heartache that Boruto's faced, with Boruto trying to cut a deal with the devil to save the very same people he cares for, which includes Sarada and Sumire. It's almost as heartbreaking as the Shikamaru video essay here on the right you can watch, or if that doesn't get your attention, you can get caught up on the 2 Blue Vortex chapter reviews of this playlist, or you can watch my new...
Okay, next, we probably gonna watch Anime Boss Deep reaction to the chapter. Yeah, so.
Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 25 has dropped a huge...
This chapter is peak, and the reason why I like Boruto 2 Blue Vortex so much is because every single chapter since this bitch came out has been 8 or 9 or 10 out of 10. This is good as Naruto Shippuden, and I watched and read Naruto ever since the anime came out, and I collected every single value of Naruto and Boruto, so I know what I'm talking about. This is peak.
Bombshell that has everyone tweaking. Our MC has made a deal with the devil, receiving yet another death flag because Boruto speaks to Momoshiki for the first time in years, offering his life for power so he can kill Jura and save Naruto and Sasuke.
What happened to the original plot of the movie?
As a result, Boruto will become multiple times stronger than he already is and gain control of the pure eye Jogan. But at what cost? Will Naruto and Sasuke and the entire Leaf Village be grieving his grave when they find out the truth at the end of this manga? But it's not only that, Naruto's daughter Himawari received the most crazy revelation ever. She isn't even human!
I'm extremely confused.
Apparently, Naruto busted all kinds of nuts with Hinata, but when he got tired, Kurama took over to keep going. That made Himawari's nature completely different from normal.
I'm confused right now, G.
Okay, I'm kidding. But basically, Kurama is training Naruto's daughter and tells her to think like a Jinchuriki. She ain't no ordinary human anymore with their superpower. But then, the biggest revelation of all that we waited years for, Sarada's confession of love has got her questioning if she's competing for Boruto's heart with other girls, as she wants to do everything she can to protect him so they can eventually marry. So with all of that out of the way, let's cue the intro.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. My ship, the people that I ship in a relationship, is Sumire, Boruto, and Sakura at the same time. So me, I don't know, I'm different. Like, that's what I want to happen. But I don't know if Ikimoto or Kishimoto is brave enough to let that happen. So we gonna find out, bro.
Vortex Chapter 25 begins with Moegi's Thorn Soul being implanted back into her as she returns, and Konohamaru hugs her tightly with affection as Himawari watches on in glee. Remember that Mitsuri revealed the deepest emotions and desire of whom she was cloned from, where Konohamaru realized that although he failed to bag Hinabi, the baddest people that lots of you argue about, he flopped getting Lemon and a lot of other girls. But the one that was with him since childhood was secretly in love with him the entire time but didn't confess. We all witnessed that Mitsuri wanted to smash, getting all flustered and even jealous that Konohamaru may have liked other women. She tried dropping the charm bomb on him, but my guy shut that down instantly, clearly keeping that kind of special intimacy for someone.
Hey, not gonna lie. When I read this chapter, when Matsuri first started liking Konohamaru, peak, nigga, that shit influenced me so fucking much. Like, that shit is so fucking peak. I can't even speak on it.
One he loves. And since Boruto has been leaning heavy into that theme, Ikemoto throws us a full circle moment. Moegi, upon awakening, calls him Konohamaru-chan, but this time he lets it slide, basically confirming he's accepted those feelings. Trashamaru then starts crying, and it must be a mixed bag of emotions. Come on, bro, he was about to be a 30-year-old V, but now he's finally
Konohamaru not trash, but keep going.
He's gonna land some punani. Boruto then watches on from above, knowing that his actions against Jura resulted in the timelines being changed wasn't in vain. It actually was positive. At least his sensei and many others got a happy ending. For example, Shinki has returned back to normal, and Gaara is safe thanks to his efforts. We then learn the status of Moegi. There is no deterioration in bones or muscle, with her organs being perfectly fine. This is especially good news because Sasuke's been stuck as a tree for a year and a half, which means when he's free, he won't have lost a step. He's not gonna come back retired or nerfed. It's not like being in a coma where your muscles waste away and your body turns into a wet noodle. In that case, you'd wake up needing months of rehab just to throw a punch. But as a tree coming back with the thorn ball, my guy Sasuke's basically been on pause instead. The moment he's back, he's ready to clap Sakura's cheeks like nothing happened. Yeah, boy. But speaking of the best doctor in the world, Sakura reveals that they will be malnourished and only require some days to rest. However, during this touching reunion, Sarada gives Sumire the side eye and wants to have a girly talk. It's painfully awkward because both of them are head over heels for Boruto, and you can almost feel the wind slicing through the air with peak second-hand embarrassment. Sumire compliments Sarada's newfound power with her Mangekyo Sharingan, telling her that she did a good job taking down Ryu, but the two can barely get a sentence out since their last chat was basically an argument. Back in Two Blue Vortex chapter 16, the girls' beef kicked off over one thing: Boruto. Sumire still hadn't gotten over the fact that in chapter 5, Sarada went full shoujo manga and hugged him the moment they reunited, sharing a moment that she wanted with him. So when the topic came up, Sumire straight up called Sarada out, basically stating she was dumping all her expectations on Boruto and weighing him down, that they should think about what he's going through as well. Sarada wasn't having it though. The claws came out and a love triangle formed. Back then, Sumire made it clear she wasn't just the class rep anymore, and that she had her own reasons for supporting her man, rooted in loyalty, understanding, and her own love for him. That layered the tension because even still, Sarada called her class rep, in which Sumire states, "Bitch, how long are you gonna call me that?" Sumire quit being a ninja a long time ago to join the science division, but even in 2 Blue Vortex chapter 6, Boruto called her a class rep as well. However, being in love, she doesn't want to be perceived in that manner anymore. She wants Boruto to see the real her, the Sumire that he can fall in love with, just like he was about to in his childhood when Boruto was asked who he liked in class, and he blushed when Sumire's name was mentioned. He's also the only person that saves Sumire from despair by understanding the truth during the Nue arc. So 2 Blue Vortex chapter 25 brings the story full circle, as Sarada finally called Sumire by her name for the first time. Meanwhile, Ada wants all the tea, because secretly she too is joining the harem for Boruto. Using the Senrigan Dojutsu, she's witnessing their conversation in real time. Sarada then apologizes for being insensitive. She gets that from Sasuke after all, my guy Sasuke brushed up on her, and Sumire states that it's okay. However, Sarada leans into her self-realization. Everything her friends said was true. She was being cowardly about love and her power. Back when they were 13 years old, she ignored Sumire's question of liking Boruto because she was afraid to accept reality. But over time, with Boruto becoming the enemy of the world, shouldering all the pain and burdens of being a rogue shinobi, Sarada started to think of him more and more. At first, she was confused, thinking that it was to do with being in the same team, caring for a comrade and all. But then, Sarada realized it was something more. Now, the manga cooked here because Sarada's story is just a parallel of her father Sasuke. It's following the same story beats he had with Naruto. Sasuke spent years misreading the pull he felt towards Naruto as pure rivalry and resentment. He called it cutting bonds to erase the pain, but every arc kept proving the opposite. The hatred was really attachment and love. In their final valley of the end fight, lying there with no chakra and no arms to throw, Sasuke finally says the quiet part out loud. Naruto is his closest friend and brother. He recognized those feelings that he's hurt when his friend Naruto is hurt. When he's emotionally in pain, then he is in pain too. So Sasuke apologized at that time, choosing to live with it instead of fighting those feelings that he recognizes Naruto as a bro. Now similarly, his daughter Sarada thought, if I love Boruto, then I must be a bad person. How can it be okay for someone that wants to be Hokage to have selfish feelings? I need to treat their entire village as family, putting equal importance to everyone instead of just one ninja named Boruto, right? Now, I know a lot of you are young watching this video and probably haven't got married, but let me break down what Sarada is trying to say. Essentially, Sarada believed that suppressing emotions was necessary to become Hokage. She considered her romantic feelings a weakness, focusing solely on her duties as she was trying to follow Naruto's Nindo. So she tried to bro zone Boruto, but because our MC has so much aura, this was an impossible task. Eventually, Ada's omnipotence came into play. Everything turned upside down with the world's memories being changed, as the entire village wanted to kill the man she loved. Sarada could not accept such a reality, which then activated her Mangekyo Sharingan for the first time. Sasuke informed us that her Mangekyo will have a great source of power, and with the instincts of an Uchiha, it will come naturally to her, as the Sharingan is the reflection of the heart. As a result, Sarada now chooses to embrace her love, acknowledging that her feelings are a source of strength rather than a hindrance. Now in chapter 25, Ada is just like us, watching this shit go down like it's some amazing TV show, getting her snacks and popcorn. Because Sarada, she finally confesses she loves Boruto too. Now this fits perfectly with the story that Kishimoto and Ike...
This is just great. This is just great writing. I don't know what else to say. Ikimoto is goated. Masashi Kishimoto is goated. They both work together. They're both goated. I don't know what to say. Like, this is what happens when you get one of your assistants who worked on Naruto with you for your whole life to write the sequel. It's just synergy.
Kishimoto has cooked up. It's great writing because now Sarada's ideology is the opposite of the main villain, because unlike Jura, who believes love is a weakness to humanity that causes all the wars, suffering and pain in the world, Sarada's ideals follow the opposite. She states Boruto is what makes her stronger, strong enough to even become Hokage. It basically mirrors Naruto's own journey, where it's about the power of bonds over suppression of it. However, Sumire, she's like, girl, I already knew that shit years ago. It was that obvious. She must have had the notification bell on for Anime Balls D, because I've done 3 goddamn videos on this topic, so make sure to follow her footsteps by hitting the bell and smashing the like button. I am going to do a follow-up video explaining how Sarada broke the Uchiha curse with her Mangekyo Sharingan, as it corrected all the wrongs and mistakes in the Naruto manga, including characters like Itachi, Obito, Madara, and more. Also, in celebration, I just wanted to mention our store, thedeepvault.com. It's having a special offer right now. Just use the code FREE1 and you get a free poster at checkout. Be it anime, TV shows, or movies, we have you covered with our travel posters. Now is a good time to mention that we just dropped our Naruto Boruto bundle featuring the ninja villages at a massive discount for a limited time. We are constantly coming out with new designs, and these are all made in-house by our team to the best quality we can. So your support really does help out, so check it out in the pinned comment. Anyway, with the girls finally making up, things somehow get messier. Balls Deep prediction jutsu ends up being true as Ada hears the news and she is pressed. Yeah, she can make any man sub to her OnlyFans with only a glance, but there is only one person she wants now, either Boruto or Kawaki for herself. But here's the twist that most people forget. Ada's whole arc isn't just about lust, it's about loneliness. She never had real friends, and that's why Sarada and Sumire matter, as they uniquely are unaffected by her omnipotence. So rewind to chapter 74, Ada literally invites the both of them over for girls talk to gossip about feelings and try being actual friends for once. It's the manga spelling out that she craves normal connections, not just worship. So when Sarada doesn't run to Ada first with the big love update, of course Ada's jealousy meter spikes. She's been watching everything and wants to be part of the inner circle. That's why her reaction hits hard, as Damon is itching for a good fight and can take out any of them in an instant based on her orders. But meanwhile, Himawari is getting used to her Jinchuriki powers. She's the strongest and most synced one in history, with the strongest power able to surpass Naruto. That's why by chapter 11, she's already doing wild stuff like healing Inujin on the spot and firing a tail beast ball first try. So in a meditative state, Himawari is speaking to Kurama. They are training with Kurama winning the duel, but don't get it twisted. In chapter 25, Kurama basically becomes her sensei, walking her through chakra control and how to aim her real strength. It's a training arc on complete steroids. Because for context, when Naruto went for the fox's power, he had to throw hands with a full-size Kurama in his own mind, with Killer Bee supervising and Kushina's adamantine chains pinning the beast. Naruto then spammed Rasengan variants, ripping out Kurama's chakra and then resealed it. But Himawari gets to skip all of these steps and gets to use 100% power of Yin and Yang from the jump, which makes sense as Naruto's legacy left a lasting impact and Kurama sees Himawari as a friend or daughter per se. Kurama then teaches her that she's more akin to a Jinchuriki, explaining that she's more like a tailed beast or Jura. Himawari then needs to harness this power as if she's the embodiment of chakra itself, and once she understands this concept, she would then be able to surpass.
Not gonna lie, what they doing with Himawari, peak fiction. Like, she's the host of the Nine Tails, and she's more compatible with him than Naruto. Come on, bro. They're doing some fucking work over there. And everybody who hated on Boruto, I know you're shitty right now. Like, you're gonna be shitty. And I just can't wait.
Naruto's power. Now, because Himawari just isn't getting it, she's like, Kurama basically gives up. He says, nah, bruh, I can't be doing this shit all day. He goes to sleep. But in parallel, her brother is going to his inner plane to speak to Momoshiki.
This is exactly what I've been waiting for.
Yeah, after 3 years, the GOAT has returned and things are not looking good, bruv. Boruto has had 15 death flags ever since 2 Blue Vortex started, and he must be taking that into account. Kashin Koji keeps reminding him that every single future he sees, Juro will always end up killing him with the planet being destroyed, billions of people dying. So in a desperate attempt to get multiple times stronger, even though he's the strongest ninja of all time already, with Sasuke admitting it, he still needs an even greater boost to defeat the Shinju leader. But on the other hand, Momoshiki, he's sulking that Boruto survived the fight against Jura and many other times, because he actually wants Boruto to be near death so that he can take
Hey, that nigga Momoshiki is hating. He is hating on a generational level. And you can't do nothing but respect it. You can't do nothing but respect it.
over his body and mind forever. He's so bored and stuck in limbo, as his soul is anchored within this plane with nothing to do or escape. Momoshiki even laments that he decided to save Boruto when Kawaki killed him in the first part of the story, which is a nuisance for him as the option to resurrect at 100% is now gone. So he's hit the bottom of despair just like Boruto, with no purpose, stuck in this stupid prison. So as a result, our MC strikes a deal. He wants Momoshiki to lend his strength so that they can kill Jura, and in return, he can have Boruto's body. This would mean Boruto would cease to exist and the world won't even remember what he did or who he was. During chapter 15, for example, Boruto informed Kawaki that it's been 2 years since he last used the Karma Seal. This was a last resort to save Sasuke, but when he did, Boruto sensed that Momoshiki was about to possess him. His consciousness was being faded away and Boruto was literally dying whilst aware of what was happening. So because of that, Boruto banned himself from using it. Even in this very conversation, Boruto told Kawaki he can kill him if Momoshiki takes his body again. As a result, in Boruto's point of view, once he makes the deal with Momoshiki to get multiple times stronger, he can then save the planet, and then Momoshiki can die by the hands of Kawaki, as his bro's goal is to kill every last Otsutsuki on the planet, where he would then unseal Naruto and other trees so they can live happily ever after. So yeah, again people, Ikemoto cooked as many plot points are coming to closure, because in parallel to his bro Kawaki, when Boruto first met him, Remember, they didn't see eye to eye. Boruto didn't understand why Kawaki wanted to die and didn't value himself at all. But ironically, our MC has come to the same idea. Boruto is the boy that had everything and lost it all, whilst Kawaki in contrast is a boy that had nothing and gained everything and he wants to protect it. So now Boruto's thinking, wait a second, I'd rather sacrifice myself than see others get hurt. However, those of us that have watched the Boruto anime, we know that Naruto made a promise in episode 220, and it was this tear-jerking scene that even got an old man like me crying. When Boruto was 13 years old after the Ishiki fight, and then he had the Karma seal extracting in him and his data was getting replaced, he was about to die, there was nothing they could do, there was no technology, no plan, no nothing. But even then, Naruto promised his son that even if Momoshiki took over his body, he would save him. He's weaker without Kurama, and his reputation would be ruined as Hokage, but even then, Naruto would gain a new power for the sake of his child. He would do everything in the world to save him, as that is his ninja way. Boruto accepted this promise from his dad, and I believe this will play very big importance once Kawaki brings Naruto back. The chapter ends on Boruto choosing the demon's path, laser focused on fixing everything himself. But meanwhile, Sarada and Sumire are finally honest with each other. They both like Boruto, and he's so locked into his selfless ideals, being a good guy, he doesn't even notice that these two girls love him. But that's what makes him great. Now, to enjoy more peak fiction about Boruto, watch this video on your screen right now.
Yeah, bro. So that was chapter 25. And I personally, on Twitter, people was rating it kind of low because they was like, it's just a chapter that advances the plot, or it's just all dialogue chapter, all feeling chapter. And people trying to bash it, but I personally, these are my favorite type of chapters, is plot development and the slow moments and romance and all of those other things. So I was fucking with the chapter, and I think this is 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 level chapter. But I think every chapter is 9 out of 10. So because I just like this IP so much. But yeah, bro. That's what I think about Boruto, chapter 25, and maybe there'll be some more of these about chapter 25, maybe not, but we'll see. Thank you for watching.